the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain while I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bill, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bill, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still.
And welcome in to the Week 11 edition of Fantasy Football Tips and Advice, brought to you by the Best Belt Fantasy Football Livestream. I am Bradley Stalder. You can follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. And if you are new to the Best Bell Fantasy YouTube channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. And of course, this is the episode tonight and hopefully tomorrow as well, where I'll be answering your fantasy football questions. We will go until there are no more. So I'm looking forward to you jumping in the chat. I do this every week, either Friday night or Saturday night, or sometimes both, where I'll jump on the live stream, answer your questions, and get us going. While we're in here, I want to say thank you to everyone who've been so supportive of the live stream and podcast so far. We're at almost 330 subscribers, and that amount has we've gone from about 50 in the last month and a half to over 330, or about 330 right now. So this community is growing, and I've really appreciated all that y'all have done to grow it and jumping in and asking questions. And, right now it's been a cold streak. 2 of the last 3 times I've finished outside the top 100 of the rankings. I think I was getting a little too spicy. So I think I need to tone those down and just go with my gut, decide on a little less spiciness in the Fantasy Pros Accuracy Rankings contest. I'm still 14th overall out of over 200 rankers in wide receivers, and I'm 5th in IDP. So we're on track for getting one of those ever coveted badges. And we've got our first question from YouTube. Caden, the Colts fan. Team is Tua, Chubb, Henry, Cook, D-Hop, CD, Schultz. Deadline is tomorrow. Anything I should do? Well, right now, looking at my rankings for this week, the way I would like to view ranking or teams is, how are you prepared for this week? And if you get to the championship, how will you perform then? And I like Tua, but as we know, Tua and the Miami Dolphins are on bye this week. So hopefully you finding a quarterback to stream. And if you're looking for a quarterback streaming option, Marcus Mariota is one. In Atlanta against Chicago, we know that Chicago gives up lots of points to opposing teams. They've given up on average 38 points to opposing teams over the last 3 weeks. So hopefully, you're streaming either Marcus Mariota, or, as you put in the chat here, Daniel Jones streaming. Not a bad pick against Detroit in New York. It can't be in Detroit this week, the game between the Lions and the Giants, of course, because of the snow. The Browns and Bills game has been moved. So for those who don't know, I live about 25 minutes outside of the city of Detroit, and there's a little bit of a buzz around the city. A lot of my colleagues at the school I teach at and work at, they're really excited about a non-Lions game happening at Ford Field this weekend. So Daniel Jones is in a good spot getting Detroit. Daniel Jones, looking at what he's done so far this year, you've been happy with what you have, right? He is 16th in total points, but he's had a top 3 finish, a top 8 finish. He's only finished with fewer than 12 fantasy points just once. So, even last week against Houston, 18 fantasy points, 2 total touchdowns, 24 rushing yards. But Daniel Jones has had at least 60 rushing yards in 3 different games so far, and that's been really interesting. He's almost at 400 rushing yards on the season, and I can't remember the exact line for Prize Picks, but he was one of the most obvious overs for his rushing yardage He was crushing it. So Daniel Jones, he's thrown for under 200 passing yards in 7 of 9 games. So you're not banking on the passing, you're banking on the rushing. And Detroit is, Aaron Rodgers struggled against them, but this seems like a Daniel Jones pretty safe floor game against the Lions. Chris Schumacher says, I'd pick up Deshaun Watson before the playoffs if he's still on waivers. And that's a player that, yes, you are stashing. Deshaun Watson, the Browns play this week, and then looking at the rest of their schedule, right, they're playing in Detroit. They get Tampa and then Houston. So Houston is where Deshaun Watson will return week 13. And then looking at where the fantasy playoffs for Deshaun Watson, Baltimore, who's actually gotten a better defense as of late. We've seen Roquan Smith join, a lot of players brought off the injured reserve like Bowser and Ojabo. And then New Orleans, week 16. New Orleans could be in full tank mode by that point, and Deshaun Watson could just tear them straight up. And maybe by that point as well, Jameis Winston will be back as the starter for the Saints. That'll be really nice. And then Washington will be really nice as well. So Caden's asking about talking about Henry. Already got 27, so you're in good shape there. And should there be anything to do with this team? I mean, you've got to be happy with, streaming Jones. You're happy with Henry. You're happy with Chubb. Okay. And then Dalvin Cook, D. Hopkins, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, even Schultz, like you're thinking to yourself, okay, what kind of tight end has Dalton Schultz been the last couple weeks? And Schultz has been very respectable. Okay. Schultz is the consensus tight end 5 this week. Okay. And he finishes the tight end 9 and 3, and he finishes the tight end 10. Dalton Schultz has not finished worse than the tight end 10 in a week that Dak Prescott has started. So he may lack that like league winning upside, but he's going to keep you, in a safe spot. So I don't know if there's really are you going to be able to trade Chubb for a Travis Kelce? I don't know. I would see if that's a possibility. Like Chubb plus Schultz, does that get you Kelce and then some other throw in, see if you can get Jeff Wilson thrown in? I don't know if it's too late to buy on Jeff Wilson or throw in Isaiah Pacheco, right? But maybe trying to target an upgrade there. The other consideration for you, Caden, is Tua. Now, the Miami Dolphins get the New England Patriots in the championship weekend, week 17, at Foxborough. And look, it's been great for Tua so far. We've loved what we've seen. We've loved what Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I'm sorry, Jalen Warren's been on the brain lately, but Jalen Waddle has done. Gesicki's had his spike weeks. But you wonder if, New England's in the playoff hunt still. That last week, they never tend to go away. They're really annoying at that point, even with, without a lot of stars on their team. So I wonder if they put up a good fight on Tua during that last one of the last interdivisional games of the season. It's probably cold in Foxborough week 17. It's not Miami anymore. So I wonder if it could snow, it could be cold. Tyreek Hill could, not be able to get the separation that you want. I wonder if, you can pivot to Justin Fields. I wonder if you can get Fields straight up for Tua. It's possible, because looking at what Fields has not just has done, Fields has been a top 5 quarterback each of the last 4 weeks and been the number 1 quarterback. He's the consensus 3 this week. But Fields, he does have a tough playoff matchup with Philadelphia and Buffalo weeks 15 and 16. But in the championship week, he gets Detroit. Fields does. So, you want to think about are you going to be able to make it through the playoffs? Of course. But Caden, what I would recommend is seeing if the Fields Fields' manager is willing to give up Fields for Tua if you're secured in a playoff spot. If you're not secured with the playoff spot, like, the reality is Tua is on the bye right now, and Justin Fields has the bye week 14, then Philly, then Buffalo. But this against Atlanta, he's got a smash matchup. I think New York Jets are going to be, they're a tough defense, but Fields played well against Dallas, which was a tough defense, and played well against New England. So I think that's what I would do, is see what possibilities you can to upgrade Tua or Schultz, and not be afraid to package for upgrading from Schultz to, let's say, Travis Kelce. Okay. Let's see here. Schumacher, that Watson-Jackson matchup is going to be wild. I agree with you. Joaquin De La Guardia from YouTube, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you doing that. I assume that's Kyren Williams and Mitchell as my running back 2 rotation. Thoughts? I think it depends on the league here. That's what I would say. It depends on the league, because Kyren Williams is much more of a PPR type of player. We already saw that in week 10, where Kyren Williams, 3 targets, 3 receptions. He played more snaps and got more targets than Cam Akers, and he got more targets than Darrell Henderson. So it wouldn't surprise me if Kyren Williams becomes like a flex-worthy PPR play, okay? With maybe, if he falls in the end zone, becomes a running back 2 on the week. But Mitchell is very much ground and pound, right? He wasn't used much as a pass catcher in his rookie year. And then even this year, like, let me scroll down here. Elijah Mitchell on the season, he has 2 targets, 1 reception on the season. Like, I know he's only played 2 games, but it's the rushing that is really interesting to me for Elijah Mitchell. So if you are in a standard or half PPR league, I would probably lean toward Mitchell most weeks. But in full PPR, Kyren Williams could be interesting in like weeks 12 and moving forward. You want to see it from Kyren Williams first. Like, just playing 29% of snaps and just getting 3 targets, that's not enough to make your fantasy lineup. Like, yeah, give me Elijah Mitchell right now as the running back 2 if I had to make a decision between those, and I'm pretty secure. Big BS from YouTube, thanks for tuning in. More Pittman, Ayuk, Sutton, D. Smith, full PPR, choose 3, also playing Jalen Hurts. Yeah, so let's look at some of those matchups here. So there's a lot of love for DJ Moore, and I'm just not getting it. I'm not getting it. He's coming in cold. Baker Mayfield is going to be the quarterback for this game against Baltimore. The implied points total is only 14 for the Carolina Panthers, and they're 14-point dogs against the Baltimore Ravens. So DJ Moore, I assume that's who you're talking about, because maybe it's Rondell Moore, maybe it's Elijah Moore, maybe it's Sky Moore, but I'm thinking DJ Moore because right now the expert consensus ranking on Fantasy Pros has him at wide receiver 20. And that just, once again, that's very bullish. DJ Moore has finished as wide receiver 50 or worse. So we got some clarity. It's Rondell. Okay, but let's talk Pittman, Ayuk, Sutton. You're starting Sutton this week. He got 11 targets last week. You can't ignore 11 targets. Brandon Ayuk also you're starting. I am worried about Michael Pittman this matchup. And also I love Paris Campbell this week too. So Ayuk, Sutton, and then Devonta Smith right now against Indy. The Philadelphia Eagles have a 41% pass block advantage over the defensive line of the Indianapolis Colts. So that's what you can look at as a positive for Devonta Smith. Right, he's a boom or bust, but what we know is that Dallas Goedert is out, and none of the tight ends really are going to make an impact, I think, this first week. Grant Calcaterra not commanding targets. He is a nice athlete, but not not someone who's going to immediately step in. Jack Stoll is primarily a blocking tight end for Philly, and Tyree Jackson was just activated off of the IR. I like Jackson as a deep stash longer term. I think he fits perfectly for this Philadelphia Eagles team in like weeks 13, 14 and following, as long as Goddard is out. But I think Devonta Smith, this is a nice game against the Indianapolis Colts. And you should be pretty in on Devonta Smith. Okay. So I would go Ayuk, Sutton, and Devonta Smith. And it fits with that stack there. Okay, so Caden says, I'm the 3 seed. Would you do Tua for Fields? Yeah, I would trade Tua Tagovailoa for Fields. I would do that. Mm-hmm. Okay. The floor is higher for Fields. And then the Week 17 matchup, if you get to the championship, he's got Detroit. He was the quarterback, won by a mile against Detroit last time. Okay, Chris says, I'm a 4 seed in my league, but I have the second best record. It's dumb. 3 conferences, winners get automatic bid. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. And then I've been thinking about Pete Rose and throw games and trying to lock up the 6th seed in a weaker side of the bracket. I don't know. The best teams typically win anyways, and that's always a risky proposition because if you lose, you might even get bounced out of the playoffs. It's just a risky proposition. So that's what I would say, Chris, is, maybe don't risk it. Okay, very good. We're going to take just a 30-second promo and make sure you're hitting that red subscribe button. Throw your comments into the chat. I love answering these, getting into it with you for Week 11 as we prepare and as we find out more news. We're going to get some injury updates tomorrow and tomorrow as well. I want to make an announcement tomorrow. I think we're finalizing a time, but Theo Greminger from the GOAT District podcast is going to be joining me for tomorrow's late night stream. And we're going to talk Treylon Burks. We're going to talk Brandon Ayuk. We're going to talk Deebo Samuel and a bunch of other players, along with answering your Week 11 questions. So Theo Greminger from the GOAT District podcast, also contributor at Roto Underworld, is going to be joining me tomorrow. So make sure you're tuning in there as well as we get more news and you're setting your lineups in preparation for Week 11. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and putting your questions into the chat. I love answering them. Also, check out all the videos. I have like almost 700 videos that I've posted, most of them during the season, some of them short, some of them are long. Last night, I got to chat with the podfather himself, Matt Kelly of Roto Underworld and playerprofiler.com. He was a great guest and really privileged to have a guest like Matt join me. So check out that podcast and live stream from yesterday. So I appreciate all of you who jumped in and tuned in for that one yesterday. Blurpy from YouTube, Kamara and Olave for Diggs or Jefferson. Okay. So Kamara has struggled as of late, and he's one of the players in my fantasy data article that just dropped today. And if you haven't checked it out, make sure that you are checking out fantasy data. Okay, the article I just posted in the chat right there, fantasydata.com, fantasy football rankings versus ECR Week 11. The rankings haven't updated yet. I do that right before Sunday. But these are like one of the players that I highlighted for this week is Alvin Kamara. And Kamara, it's been really ugly for Kamara as of late, right? He's combined for 17 carries, 56 rush yards, 6 receptions on 8 targets, 51 receiving yards over the course of 2 games. And he's finished on average as the running back 29 over the last 2 games. Not what you want from a high-end or mid-pack running back 1. This is what I had some concerns about, is the consistency going into the season for Alvin Kamara. And now the offense is really struggling to score. Kamara's not in scoring position to be able to score touchdowns. And as a result, it's been a struggle. And the Saints have struggled to manufacture the points, as I mentioned. It doesn't help that this week, for instance, that the Rams hold a 77% advantage over the New Orleans offensive line. yikes. It is a bad rushing matchup for Kamara. He's going to have to make up for it through the air. And it's possible. Like, it's possible that the Rams give up some points through the air for Alvin Kamara, but they're not going to give up anything on the ground. So if you're banking on rushing, if you're in a standard league, like especially, so should you be targeting Diggs or Jefferson if you want to give up Kamara and Olave? If you're good at running back, you should be okay with trading away Kamara to upgrade here. And if I'm picking one, Diggs or Jefferson, I think you just got to go with Jefferson still. There are longer-term concerns about Josh Allen's elbow, and maybe he puts those to rest. Maybe he does. But the concerns are that, Diggs is getting thrown to by a quarterback whose elbow, we've seen Allen be making mistakes. He's had at least four games with 2 interceptions. That's a problem. Whereas Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins hasn't been perfect either, but Justin Jefferson he's been the number 1 weekly finisher, a number 2, a number 4, a number 4, and a number 3. So what is that? 5 of his 9 weeks he's finished as a top 4 wide receiver. Compare that to Diggs even this season, right? Diggs has had a 1, 6, 2, 8, 8, and 7. It's clear that the ceiling is just higher for Justin Jefferson. So I would lean Jefferson if you're trying to upgrade here, Blurpy. Sean Burns, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you, Sean. I traded Foreman for Swift. Foreman was on my bench. I just thought Swift is more upside to get in my lineup with Foreman being boom bust, game script dependent running back. Yeah, and if you look at what matchup Donta Foreman has this week, it's a tough one, right? This is one where he once again could get game scripted out. Yikes. Right? The Carolina Panthers, as I mentioned before, 14 implied points. They're 14-point dogs on the road. And I know that Lamar Jackson's had his struggles over the last couple weeks. He hasn't been better than a quarterback 9 since week 3. But you have to be happy with getting Swift. The upside is there. And if you picked up Foreman and you upgraded to Swift, that's really nice, Sean. So that's a good play. Tua is on bye for Sean. Need to stream quarterback. Heineke, Stafford, Carr, McCoy. I'm leaning Heineke. Well, if I were using my rankings, Heineke is 17 for me. Stafford is all the way down at 25 right now. Carr is at 18. McCoy is even lower. Yeah, I think Heineke is the way to go for you there, Sean. So that's what I would do. Okay. Kyle Ellis, thanks for tuning in, Kyle. Appreciate you from YouTube. I also see you with the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Immaculate Heart of Mary profile picture, so I see you. That's right. Fun fact, maybe you didn't know this about me, but I have a master's degree from the Franciscan University of Steubenville in theology and Christian ministry. So there you go. Fun fact. So that's how I can recognize who is in your profile picture, Kyle. But you're asking whether to play David Montgomery, who has a plus matchup this week, Tyler Boyd, who's clearly the number 2 in an ascending, Cincinnati offense coming off the bye week. Burrow against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh gives up a lot of fantasy points to the wide receivers, or going with Cortland Sutton in full PPR. This is a must win. So right now I do have Boyd ahead of Sutton. One spot ahead. I have Boyd at 13, Sutton at 14. It is very, very close. So I can understand why this is a tough call for you there, Kyle. And then looking at the running backs. So comparing, if I have to get the lean, I would give it to Boyd because I think it's a better offense. You're more likely to get touchdowns with Tyler Boyd. Even though I think you'll get more targets with Sutton, I think the targets that you get with Boyd are more valuable. And then looking at David Montgomery, he is the running back 14 for me right now. The consensus has him at running back 14 as well. So, and he's at 11.2 fantasy points in half PPR, or this is full PPR. So let's see. He is the consensus 15 in PPR. He's the 18th highest projected running back per Fantasy Pros in points. He's going to get, 15 to 20 carries in this game against Atlanta, and Atlanta gives up a lot of fantasy points. So I could see Montgomery falling into the end zone, getting 20 carries even, and 20 for 80 and a touchdown, and then another, couple receptions through the air. Although, as we know, rushing quarterbacks don't tend to dump it off as much. If I, gun to my head, Tyler Boyd, that's what I would say, Kyle. Joquan, welcome back. It's a 12-team PPR, traded Deshaun Watson, Barkley, and Scary Terry for Mahomes and Jefferson. Oh, beautiful. Paired with Chase and Jacobs. Now running back 2 is weak. Yeah, I get it. Oh, man. With Kyren Williams and Mitchell, what should I do? I think you're just rolling with Mitchell as a running back 2. I think that's what you're doing. You need to see it from Kyren Williams first before you plug him in. That's my advice. Sean Burns, I also need to stream a tight end. Stash McBride can pick up Conklin, Juwan Johnson, or Taysom Hill. So this week I have Juwan Johnson at 14, Taysom Hill I have 15, Conklin I have at 16, so 14, 15, 16, and McBride I have at 18. So I would lean Juwan Johnson. It's clear that New Orleans needs pass catching help. Juwan Johnson is the consensus tight end 15, and he has been a tight end 8 3 of the last 4 weeks. He's had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games with at least 5 targets. So that's who I would go with. All right. Next question. Would you trade Swift for Jamal Williams? Emily? I'm not sure. Emily? I hope that I'm pronouncing it right. Would you trade Swift for Jamal Williams? Do you need to win this week? If the question is, no, I'm good. I'm good for the playoffs. I just want to know if you think rest of season Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift. Rest of season, it's clearly DeAndre Swift. Clearly. But Jamal Williams, I have ranked higher for this week. If it is a must-win week for you, yeah, you're gonna have to go get Jamal Williams. He is still the running back 20 for me. I have Swift at 27, so they're not like high upside running back 2s. And they get the New York Giants, right? And the New York Giants right now in half PPR. Let me pull up the data tools here to give you the best answer. But the Giants, if I recall correctly, they're really stingy against wide receivers, but the New York Giants, where are they? They're also really stingy against the run. They only give up 18.5 fantasy points total to the running back position per game on the year. But they do give up 109 rushing yards. So this could be, one of those rushing games. Okay. So would I trade Swift for Jamal Williams if I need to win this week? If I don't need to win this week, I'd just hold on DeAndre Swift. Just hold on for dear life. What about Tua for Herbert? I was thinking to myself about Justin Herbert and the week 17 matchup, because that's what we're looking for. If you're set for the playoffs, you want to start thinking about what happens in that last game. That's the attitude you take in best ball. That's the attitude you should be taking in your season leagues as well. If I make it to the championship, what kind of matchups do I have? You shouldn't be thinking week to week when you're in the playoffs. You should be thinking about let's take a step back. If there's no difference of payouts for really between your making the playoffs and winning the championship, you try to make the playoffs. But if it is winner take all, or it is a ridiculously high payout, that's when you have to be thinking only about playoffs, or not only about, but only about the week 17 championship game. And that's why on the brain going into this season, I was really targeting a lot of Rams and Chargers in the Week 17 matchup because I was thinking Stafford and Kupp, Herbert and Williams / Eckler / Keenan Allen / Eckler, right? This was going to be great. We were thinking slugfest, and I was deeply stashing like Isaiah Spiller if Eckler got hurt. He was one of my favorite running backs to stash for like those best ball Week 17 correlations. Now I'm more worried. Like Herbert's been dealing with ribs injuries all season. Like no one's really reporting on that because it's like gone away. But we remember how nasty the ribs injuries were and how painful they are. Like it's hard to play through those, and they usually don't heal, don't heal quickly throughout the season. So you're also having Keenan Allen, whose hamstring, like we don't know if it's going to be ready. Mike Williams says he's going to be ready for Week 11. So you should be firing up Mike Williams. Right now, Mike Williams' consensus on Fantasy Pros is like wide receiver 60, and he's more like a wide receiver like 36. Okay, he's a wide receiver 36 is my ranking for him right now. He said he's 200% playing. So when it comes to Tua or Herbert, I am worried about what kind of game that Rams-Chargers game is going to be. I was hoping it would be a slugfest where they would score 55 to 60 points in this game. Now with Stafford dealing with all the injuries that he has, the concussion, Kupp may not be back for this game. We'll see. Maybe Kupp makes it back. But even if he does, he's still dealing with the ramifications. There are studies to support decreased play, like level of play, upon returning from significant ankle injuries. So it's just not lining up to be the shootout that I had hoped. Whereas there is still a potential for a massive shootout for Tua. Like Tua gets the ball to Tyreek Hill, takes it to the house, one play. Like it's a snowy day, someone makes a mistake. I just think there's a wide range of outcomes for Tua, and it's very unlikely that Herbert gives you like that spike week that you're looking for Week 17 compared to the likelihood that Tua does. So I would still have Tua over Herbert at this point. Okay, and looking at just going back to Mike Williams, I'm taking a tangent here for Mike Williams. Holy guacamole. There are a lot of fantasy managers who have Mike Williams as a like top 16, 17 play. And I think 16 is a nice spot for him. So let's move Mike Williams all the way up to where would be good? Yeah, probably top 20. Okay, we're going to publish that. Okay. I traded D-Hop for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Christian Kirk. That's a good trade, right? I can see it in like deeper leagues or multiple flex plays. Yeah. Who else are the Lions going to throw to? Who else are the Lions going to throw to? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's it. We don't even know if Jameson Williams is going to be back for the season. Like, holy buckets. So, yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a nice piece, and he is a tier below DeAndre Hopkins, but to also get Christian Kirk, who's had some ups and downs, but you should be happy with what Kirk has given you for what you paid in a draft capital. So I would say you always you normally prefer the better player in 2-for-1 trades. Like you want to be the person receiving the one player. So it depends on the size of the league. Fields or Burrow, and Gabe Davis or Josh Palmer. You're going with Fields, and you're going with Gabe Davis. Yeah, that was pretty easy, Travis Unlimited. That was a good one. Give me a layup, okay? Yeah, Fields is a top 3 quarterback for this week, and Gabe Davis is significantly ahead, in my opinion, over Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer, in my rankings, like I just can't get behind Palmer. He's 32 right now, and Gabe Davis is 15. So, yeah, that's pretty significant. Caden's asking, so you just keep Tua, like, no matter what? I think you hold on to Tua unless you get a really sweetheart deal. I think Tua's done just fine for you. There is a wide range of outcomes for that Week 17 matchup, Caden, but I would still lean Tua for most matchups. Like he gets the ball to Tyreek, he gets the ball to Jalen, and they just go. So, yeah, there are not very many. Like I would have Tua over Joe Burrow, right? I would have Tua over Justin Herbert. I would have Tua over Kirk Cousins, and you have to be concerned about Lamar Jackson. Like having Tua over Lamar Jackson shouldn't be a stretch for you. Shouldn't be a stretch. All right, Sean, 12-man PPR, Tua, Henry, Sanders, Hopkins, Waddle, McBride, Evans, bench, Williams, Swift, Dubs, Warren. Who can I trade for a tight end? Oh, okay. Yeah, you definitely need tight end help for sure. You're looking good at wide receiver. I wonder what kind of tight end you can get for Waddle. I wonder what kind of tight end. Like, can you get a Kittle or Hawkinson for Waddle? Like, that's the type of tier that I would want back. Like, because below that, you're talking Schultz, Freiermuth, Dulcich, Higbee. You really don't want to upgrade. I mean, maybe you can. Yeah, Dubs isn't going to get you anything. Jalen Warren's not going to get you anything. DeAndre Swift is a hold, like a keep. You keep him. Mike Williams, if he goes off, right, you sell him. See if you can get a Hawkinson or a Kittle. But that's who I would be targeting. Yeah, that's what I would do. Raheel, thanks for joining the YouTube live stream and putting your comments in the chat. Just like Raheem, make sure you're putting your comments in the chat, questions in the chat. If you want me to talk about a particular player and their outlook for this week, I can definitely do that. Just throw them in. If you've got start sit questions, if you still have should I pick this player up off the waiver wire, you can throw those questions in as well. Make sure you're hitting that red subscribe button. That's the dealio, and we will be all good. So Raheel Shah, I appreciate you jumping in from YouTube. Choose any three to start: Foreman, Boyd, Moore, Zeke, Hunt, Gabe Davis, Tony, Kareem Hunt, or CEH. We are not playing CEH this week, people. We are not playing CEH. You can just cross. I don't even know, unless this is like a really, really deep league, you should be letting someone else have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Also, I'm not super bullish on Kareem Hunt. Zeke, I'm not in on as well. I think you listed Hunt twice. I'm also not an informant, so I'd go Boyd. I'm not sure which more that is, but you're definitely starting Boyd. You're starting Gabe Davis. So those two, Boyd and Gabe Davis. And then let's go with the upside of Kadarius Toney. Like, could Kadarius Toney bust? Sure. But his ceiling is so juicy, right? When you're tied to Patrick Mahomes, when you have the number one juke rate among all wide receivers, first round draft capital. Yes, that's what I would do. And I would start, if you're looking for upside, I'd definitely go over DJ Moore. DJ Moore he's been a wide receiver 50 or worse each of the last 2 weeks. And it's not like there's prospects of him getting better. I keep hitting on this Carolina game. Carolina is a 14-point dog. Baker Mayfield is the quarterback. I don't know if y'all saw, but like a week and a half ago, Baker Mayfield was getting reps as the third string defensive tackle in practice. Matt Rule is an idiot. Okay. Like, what are we doing here, people? And unfortunately, DJ Moore is the casualty of this mismanagement, this coaching mismanagement. Okay, Raheel. So there we go. So once again, Raheel, if I were going to start, it would be Boyd, it would be Gabe Davis, and Kadarius Toney. That's what I would do. What's up, bro? What's up, Warrior Law? Appreciate you jumping in the chat. There we go. Woo, woo. All right, Sean Burns. I was looking to trade Mike Williams for Schultz or Freiermuth. I feel like I need consistent points from tight end. I think my team has the boom potential. I think Schultz is a very interesting play. Schultz is very consistent. He's always been a top 10 tight end as long as Dak has started this year. So I wouldn't hate it if you could get Schultz for Mike Williams. I would not hate that. Also, you've Christian Watson. I'd hold on to Christian Watson. I just hold on to him. Look, as the Packers fan, as the Packers stan, as someone who watched the Packers game while podcasting with the Podfather last night, Christian Watson, the touchdowns are due to regress. But the people who are complaining and telling you, oh, Christian Watson's touchdowns are going to regress. He's a terrible player. He's just gotten lucky. Blah, 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 blah. They're the ones who missed out on Christian Watson. They're telling you, hey, I missed out on Christian Watson and I'm jealous. Okay. Christian Watson had not done well up until the last couple games. So you have to be like wondering, is this just a product of the opportunity? But as long as Romeo Doubs is out, Christian Watson is in that low end wide receiver 2 conversation because he gets the touchdowns. He's super fast. And it's just a matter of him being consistent. There were a couple plays last night that Aaron Rodgers missed him on. And yes, Rodgers made some mistakes in throwing, but also like Watson needs to keep running. Watson needs to come down with a couple more passes. So I would hold on to Christian Watson. He's got very, very nice upside. And I feel like someone, unless they are a total Christian Watson stan, like the name recognition of Mike Williams is more likely to get that deal done there, Sean. That's what I would say. Joaquin, what are possible running back targets to give up Mahomes? So Mahomes right now is like giving you quarterback 2 overall, quarterback 1, 2, 3 overall stats. Like looking at what he's done this year, I mean, he's the consensus quarterback 1 this week. He's the quarterback 2 on the season. Mahomes has 3 of his last 5 games where he's finished as the quarterback 2. Exactly. He's also finished quarterback 6 and quarterback 4 during the last 5 games. And he also has a quarterback 1 finish to his resume in week 1 against Arizona. He gets the Chargers this week. And he did finish as the quarterback 13 the last time. Only 35 passes, 235 passing yards. But that was when the Chargers were healthy. Now the Chargers have lost some pieces on defense. They've been reeling. You wonder if they have the offensive firepower to keep up with the Chiefs. And so if I'm looking at like running backs, like I'm going to be aggressive. Like if I'm not getting Derrick Henry back, if I'm not getting, a Saquon and Eckler, like an elite tier running back, I'm just going to hold on to Mahomes and I'm going to trade my number 2 quarterback. Like, because the reason why you're giving up Mahomes is because you have a Jalen Hurts, you have a Josh Allen, you have a Justin Fields, right? You even have like a Dak Prescott. Like those are the types of quarterbacks that you're saying, you know what? I'll give up Mahomes if you give me one of the elite tier running backs. Other than that, I'm holding on Mahomes. And if you want to trade a quarterback, trading Dak for, if the person really needs a run, trading Dak for Cordarrelle Patterson, trading Dak for Jeff Wilson. Yes. Actually, go get Jeff Wilson. That's what you should do. The Podfather and I talked about that yesterday. Like, just because he's not in your waiver wire anymore doesn't mean that he's not acquirable. And someone getting Dak Prescott would love to get Jeff Wilson. It's the sunken cost psychology that we were talking about yesterday. So that's what I would do, is figure out what way do you want to pivot here. Start Adams versus Denver or Hopkins versus the 49ers. Oh, man. I would have said Devontae Adams against Denver. I would have, but Adams is questionable. He's questionable for this week. He's been limited all week. And this could be one of the lowest scoring games on the week, is my concern. At least with the Arizona San Francisco game, that one could be a very interesting shootout. It could be a very interesting shootout game, and sneakily so. Like the 49ers, yeah, they're usually pretty tough, but this game is in Mexico City where the air is a little lighter, the ball floats a little bit more, and I'm hoping that it's Kyler Murray playing, but if it's not, DeAndre Hopkins falls to more of like a wide receiver 12, and that's where I would still lean Devontae Adams. So I think it comes down to whether McCoy starts or not. If McCoy starts, then I'm going Adams. If it's Kyler Murray, then you're going to have to roll with Hopkins, although we may not find out until, Sunday or even Monday morning. It's got a game time decision, according to Cliff Kingsbury. So if you're playing it safe, and we get news that Adams is full go, you roll with Adams. But it would not surprise me if it falls one way or the other here. This is a tough call. I would just be monitoring the news on Adams versus Hopkins at this point. I only had 24 of 100 left, spent 17 on him, stolen from another guy by a couple fab, started him this week. That's Christian Watson, I think Sean is referring to, and that's a real nice pickup. It's a real nice pickup. Yeah, and 17 to 24, right? That was like in the 60+% fab, right? So what was that? 18, 24, 75% of fab. I recommended 60 to 80% of the remaining fab for Christian Watson a couple days ago. So, Sean, that was the right way. Trading away Mahomes, I would target an ETN after his first bad game starting. Yeah, give me ETN, baby. ETN, he's on his bye this week, so you're not going to be able to use him in week 11. But ETN is, top 6 running back moving forward. And yeah, buy the dip if someone is worried about ETN's performance. Absolutely. All right, awesome. So I've answered a lot of questions in the chat. I appreciate y'all jumping in. I'll be sticking around a few minutes, seeing if you want to ask some more. If not, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate y'all. You can also follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. I'll be doing a podcast like this again tomorrow with Theo Greminger of the GOAT District podcast. We're going to talk Treylon Burks. We're going to talk Deebo Samuel. We're going to talk Brandon Ayuk and many other players, answering your questions for preparation of week 11. Drunk Squidward jumping in. Hollywood or Palmer this week? Man, why you got to do that? Hollywood is practicing, and he looks good. He looks good in the practices from what I've heard. So would it surprise me at all if Marquise Brown gets, because he's still technically on IR, they have opened the window, but I wonder if they do actually play him. So this is one you're just monitoring because maybe the Arizona Cardinals make the decision for you. If Hollywood's out there, I'd go Hollywood. Okay. And right now, Marquise Brown is designated to return for practice. He is eligible to play Monday night. He's not played since mid-October. Yeah, I would still lean Hollywood Brown if he is active. And he's projected for the 54th most points. I mean, you're going to play Hollywood over Palmer if he's available. So yeah. And then question, Cardinals or Vikings defense this week? Well, let's pull up the DSTs. The Cardinals, of course, get the 49ers, and the 49ers are real nice. 49ers I have as the second highest. But the Arizona Cardinals, I have it 22. And the Minnesota Vikings, where did I have them? At 19. So I would lean the Minnesota Vikings over the Cardinals just by a couple spots. They're both not great plays this week, in my opinion, but got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, Minnesota gets Dallas, and Dallas, we know what kind of juggernaut they are. And Arizona gets San Francisco. In San Francisco, we got a full healthy Deebo. We got Ayuk. We got Christian McCaffrey. We got Kittle. It's both are not great, but I would lean Minnesota. All right, awesome. Well, that looks like all the questions in the chat. Appreciate y'all jumping in. This has been a lot of fun. Make sure you're hitting that red subscribe button. I appreciate all of you. And until next time, until tomorrow, because I'm going to jump on with Theo Greminger. Good luck in fantasy football streets, everyone.
Hey, really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain while I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bill, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bill, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still.